Of course, we talk about the trial, right? Alec Baldwin. Now, if you don't know who Alec Baldwin is, I can explain that to you real quick. Alec Baldwin, one of the big, I would say, heavy hitters, and was a big heavy hitter, especially in the 80s and 90s in Hollywood, okay? He was very successful, had a lot of different, shows and TV and also movies that I've watched in the past. Did a really good job making entertainment. He did some stuff in the PG side or the G side with kids. He did a lot of good stuff, okay? I will give him credit. These are his stats right here. So Alec Baldwin, this guy actually has some pretty good stats, okay, on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, I'm going to read them off for you. So there are Alec Baldwin's stats. Highest score rating is Rotten Tomatoes, 100% of a film that was released in 2002. The lowest rated score, this was around the time of the coronavirus pandemic, the start, I would say, of the COVID pandemic, which was in 2019. So he's known for, and I guess if you want to watch some of these films, I highly suggest you watch them because they are entertaining. He is an entertaining actor. The Departed, 2006. The Cooler, 2003. Baby Boss, 2017. And there was also Baby Boss 2 in 2021. I actually did watch The Departed. I think that was a very fair and decent movie. I did see bits and pieces of The Cooler, but, I did see Baby Boss because I think that was, a DreamWorks film? And, DreamWorks has been kind of up on the ups and downs, and we'll get into that in the next broadcast with Movie Talk. I think that's one of the things I'm going to do on this show is have a movie talk, and you guys can call in because I did get the call-in function working finally. And, we'll talk about all sorts of movies. I'll tell you what, Puss in Boots 2, that was legendary in the DreamWorks lineup. But, again, we're not going to talk about that right now. But here's the downside of Alec Baldwin. This man is currently on trial, and he has gotten charged with involuntary manslaughter for his role of the fatal shooting of the cinematographer. We'll get into the name of the cinematographer that was on set of the film Rust. Not Rust In, but Rust. Okay, so I'll tell you what, involuntary manslaughter. Wow. I never thought that on set, and I'll say this, because you really don't think about this stuff necessarily in terms of how movies are made from beginning to end. A lot of people, when they go see the actual movie, they see an action sequence. They're like, oh, that's fake. That's probably CGI. Or, oh, my goodness, that's awesome. I recently saw in theaters Bad Boys 4, and I even saw some of the film behind-the-scenes stuff that they did, the B-roll footage that they did. Absolutely incredible. And I will say, in addition to that the overall premise of action scenes in movies is all about explosions and shooting and stunts and fighting and just, all sorts of great things that you see on set. And I'll tell you what, it's actually impressive. Whether it's CGI, whether it's practical, it's really, really good and cool to see. But there's always a cost. What do I mean by that? Well, sometimes a lot of movies, and this is for a lot of people's information, I know some people know this information about movies, but sometimes whenever a movie is using these type of effects, some of these are actual fake blank rounds that they use, okay? Fake rounds. Now, let me just say this. I'm all for the Second Amendment. Saying it as it is, I'm all for the Second Amendment. We have a right in this country to own guns. I used to be against it way back when I was a kid. First getting into politics, I used to be against it. Now, I'm all for it, especially with how times are nowadays. Hey, people are crazy. But let me just say this, okay? In what world do you think it is smart to pick up a gun, a fake gun, on top of that, and whether it's you are practicing or whether it's you are playing around with it, again, there was a lot of things that were going on set that I will discuss that was and it's public information too, regardless of whether you're practicing or playing around with the gun that just so happens to be fake. In what world do you take that gun and point it at somebody? What the hell are you thinking? I understand that some actors have to be in the moment whenever they're practicing. They got to feel like they're there. They got to feel like they're in the moment, right? Whenever something like that is going on, because they got to get their blocking right. They got to get their marks right. They got to get all sorts of different things like going on correctly. Fair enough. Absolutely fair enough, okay? But why are you doing it around people? Why? And then, rather than listen to the armor, which, yes, we will talk about the armor in a second, because I did hear that the female armorer that was on set was a little inexperienced, was very young, very inexperienced, and was also negligent of some things either. But that doesn't mean that the directors and producers weren't the problem too, because they were. And we're going to talk about all the things that were going on set, which goes into today's topic of exceptions versus the rules. A man that is in a high position of power, like Alec Baldwin, who is an A-list actor, that all of a sudden, and listen, here's my thing when it comes to people in positions of power. I don't care if you are LeBron James. I don't care if you are Denzel Washington. I don't care if you are the greatest person in the world. People have a right to be treated with absolute respect. The main problem that you see with a lot of these people in high positions of power, whether it's in success, in the lines of whatever industry, athletics, sports, sports athletics, the acting and the entertainment industry, comedy, don't matter. People deserve to be treated with respect, especially people, regardless of your crew members that are working tireless hours on set, 12 plus hours on set, working countless, tireless, sleepless nights to get your production up and running and rolling to make sure that the movie gets made, and all of a sudden you treat them poorly? You don't listen to advisors? You talk down on them. You treat them like garbage. And all of a sudden, it results in Alec Baldwin taking a goddamn gun, practicing with it, pointing at it, and killing an innocent cinematographer that goes by the name of Hyla Hutchins. Now, these are the stats of her, too. Out of respect for her, I thought I chose a really good, decent professional picture of her. Highest rating on the Rotten Tomatoes score is around 75%. Lowest rated score is 65%, and she just recently started her career working in Hollywood. So she was working up the ladder. You could see she was working up the ranks, and she's a pretty damn good cinematographer, too. She was good at her job. Okay, she was known for Arch Enemy. I've never seen any of these films, unfortunately, and I really should. Which I might do after this broadcast. Is I might see some of her films that she has done. Excuse me. Arch Enemy 2020, which was made during the pandemic. Blind Fire 2019, and Darlin 2019, which was also made. I believe this was like around the start of the pandemic. And then she was sadly killed on set of the Rust production by gunfire by Alec Baldwin. And this man, currently on trial for involuntary manslaughter, has around multiple lawyers, including union lawyers, because he is unionized by SAG, which is the union for actors. It's the Screen Actors Guild, for a lot of you guys that don't know the politics and the ins and outs of filmmaking. So the Screen Actors Guild, who's unionized, came out with a statement saying it is not the actor's responsibility to make sure that the gun was not loaded or the props are not or are ready to go. Fair. But it is the actor's responsibility to take every prop and treat it with the absolute respect, including a firearm.